ACT is this weekend at Oakland High School. Don't miss that one. And the play Rent wraps up at the Center for the Arts this weekend. The same is true for You Can't Take It With You at the Springhouse Theater in Smyrna. Don't miss that. Why don't you learn about local history? Rent. Head over to the one-room Ransom Schoolhouse this Saturday morning and talk local history with members of the Rutherford County Historical Society. They'll also have coffee and donuts. It's all free Saturday morning from 9 till noon at the one-room Ransom Schoolhouse, 717 North Academy Street. And put this on your calendar. The Red Cross Heroes Breakfast will be Friday morning, March the 10th at 7:30 over at MTSU's Student Union Building in the ballroom. And remember, no sales tax on gun safes sold in Tennessee now through August 31st. And those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
My name is Jennifer Sanchez. I'm the manager over Steered Straight Thrift Stores.
At Steered Straight Thrift Stores, we work with local school students
to help them understand the consequences of adverse behavior.
At Steered Straight, we focus on prevention.
We employ over 20 people from all walks of life.
And each of us has a story.
Mine is of recovery.
Steered Straight Thrift Stores.
1007 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and 845 Middle Tennessee Alpha Church.
Rutherford Issues with Brian Barrett on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and streaming at WGNSradio.com.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, take control of your account management and energy consumption with the MyMTE app. Download the app from the App Store to manage your account, improve your energy habits, and more. That's MTE, serving to make life better since 1936. Our conversation today centers around our local Salvation Army. Major Michael Knott joins us here and getting ready for springtime and all kinds of things. Lots of subjects to kind of touch on. And Major, I know that last time we talked, we were just trying to get over the tough Christmas time. So hopefully you've gotten a little time to rest and recuperate a bit.
Yeah, I've gotten some rest, and it's kind of prepared us now for all those opportunities to apply for extra funding for resources to support programs that we're doing at the Salvation Army. So, all the detail that goes into that, and, your 2023 budget, and what's your projection, what you need to kind of work to promote what you're doing in the building. So
obviously we're talking about grants, I'm sure.
Yes.
State, federal, local, maybe even. I don't know. All.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We're dabbing in all of it because we just see the need in different directions. So we're just seeing where the Lord leads us. I mean, you don't know till you go ahead and submit it if it's the direction He wants you to go, and if it is, then you receive the resources to pursue that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure that different grants have different amounts of money, and then also different results expected, and I've heard that called strings attached, but there are certain requirements I guess you have to meet with some of those grants, and so you have to really prayerfully consider all of that, I would assume.
Yeah, and there's one that's unique that my wife and I have kind of looked at. We're actually parting with submitting it as a partnership with another agency for the grant. And it's, I don't know if you heard of Bridge Out of Poverty, getting ahead and just getting by a world. My wife is very trained in that. In our previous appointment, she's held a lot of classes. So seeing that coming around with an agency that's looking to do that and kind of co-partner with her, we think it's a kind of that middle piece when it comes to what we do on our shelter and the people that come through our youth programs to try to kind of break that cycle so that's not passed on to generation and generation. So we've seen great results on that, but that's really the exciting part of that grant that she's done, because it's something she's really had a passion for to do.
So now a lot of organizations, they have someone that's pretty much their job, that and other things, grant writing. But it sounds like Mrs. Major has taken on a lot of those responsibilities. Maybe you some too.
Yeah, grants is kind of her area. We try not to cross over in each other's lanes. But our previous development person, John, was a big part of that, and we still haven't been able to find that right person that represents Murfreesboro that can be that. So those tasks go back to the officer. So, when someone leaves or that void opens up, it doesn't stop. It's just passed on back to the core officer that has added more to the plate.
That is interesting that you mentioned that. You have a business grow to a certain point, and then if someone moves on different position or whatnot, and then you have added those responsibilities, someone has to pick up the ball and run with those. And so that adds more to your plate.
It does. It takes a little bit of edge off because a little bit of support we get from Area Command, but I can't imagine. I can as a independent corps where you're it. Sometimes it's just you running the programs, you taking care of the shelter, you doing all of it, and it's just a really challenge to balance it all.
And that was one thing that has been a fairly recent change the last several years, where have that help and support from Nashville here in Murfreesboro, just to make the greater Middle Tennessee area stronger.
Yes, because we share the same media and area, and just as the tremendous growth that Murfreesboro has, it's unique in itself. And so being able to tell our story to the Nashville Area Command, that we have to treat it in a different way. We can't do a generic thing and send it down and expect Murfreesboro and Rutherford County and Cannon County to respond in the same way that those who live in Nashville and Antioch and all that surrounding area would respond. So
when you talk about grants, is this grant writing time, in January, February, March, because you want to find out what grants are part of your next year's budget, which I'm assuming is July? Is that kind of why this is grant time?
Our budget's already for, so we already have 2023 budget.
Oh, okay.
So we're working on 2024 budget.
I see.
So we're in the fiscal calendar year, not a normal calendar year. And so we always have that kind of idea what we feel its directions, and based upon what really actually happened the prior year. And that's kind of what we flow off of. And it kind of hits me. So it's just the budget that they want to. But when opportunities arises and you read what that grant really says, well, how does it fit? Or does it fit? If it fits, then, it's a lot of time and effort to go into that grant because they want a lot of information and data. Then you're really kind of like, well, this will fit and we'll just see. So you kind of just look at it. It kind of adds to, in a way.
I'm sure it's also with some of the grants, a previous grant that you want to continue with programs that you've already started, and so they want to see results, things like that too.
Right. And so that's the side note you're creating. What data that they're kind of wanting to know, the indication on, well, how useful was this, and then we can come back to them with the reports on that. So you're actually doing the grant, if it happens, and you're creating kind of a spreadsheet to track all that while that funding and however long it lasts, so that when you report, it's an accurate report to those that have said yes.
Major Michael Knott is joining us today as we talk about the Salvation Army. And as you were talking, Major, I was just thinking, this community sees so many people that move in to this area, and on a daily basis, a lot of those moving in from out of state, and maybe they're familiar with the Salvation Army, but not on the hyper-local level like what we have here. When you're probably asked, what does Salvation Army do here in Rutherford County? What do you tell people when they ask you that question?
I try to share not too much because I don't want them to have information overload, but I do invite them in that slight conversation, invite them to our location to do a talking tour, and we can get more in detail that. And so briefly just letting them know that we have opportunity for, if you're a working parent and you're really struggling with activities for your kids, that they can be a part of our youth program. And then during summertime, I know that kids are more often wanting to be doing something, so we have our day camp that goes on, and then the camp that goes that's offered to them at no cost, a week away from Murfreesboro, to just be somewhere out on the lake and do some character building and camaraderie and create new friendships. As far as the shelter aspect, it's just working with them and celebrating their accomplishments as they move into transitional or permanent housing. And then even in that, we celebrate that, but we want to stay connected with them on a monthly, if not twice a month, to just make sure how things are working. Because it's, again, you're collecting and staying in the loop of what's working and what's not, so that we can address it and tweak it. The Army is very good about what we do is not set standard that we continue to do the same thing. It's how can we make it better? What's working? What's not? How do we tweak it? What's and then bringing in fresh eyes that would help us that as well.
Sure, and just to take, for example, those folks who are from other areas and maybe their Salvation Army had different programs, some
Yes.
things, and you really kind of survey what's going on in the community, where are the needs, how could we fill those, because each Salvation Army is very unique in its own way.
Yeah, we really try to be at the table of when it comes to the city of Murfreesboro, just to be there, to be in conversation and to see what their direction and needs are as far as what directions the city's moving towards, and being a part of that with other agencies and saying what is it that they're doing. We don't want to duplicate. We want to fill another hole that maybe. So like as we get our resources, as everybody else does, I want to make sure that the resources that we have, we're filling a gap and not repeating what's been offered at some other place.
I wonder.
So it stretches farther.
Yeah. When folks who really maybe don't understand fully what the Salvation Army is, maybe they're familiar with certain parts of what the Salvation Army does. I'm sure they think about shelter and disaster assistance. And so shelter is a pretty big part of what you do here as well. And right now you say the shelter is at capacity, huh?
Yeah, we're full. Yeah, and it's with new people that are needing us to come alongside them, and that's and then the kids. We have a list, and so just trying to get more help on hand, per se, so that we can accommodate more kids. Right now, we're struggling with getting people in to want to be a program assistant part-time. So that position is open. They can go to Indeed.com and apply, and then we'll call and set up an interview and see if they'll fit and part of the team. So the same place for our housing monitors. Always looking for housing monitors, college kids that could use some part-time evening work from 4 p.m. till 12 midnight, just to kind of be able to be there for the feeding aspect that we provide 7 days a week outside our doors as well as inside. But also be in the building that those that are with us that want to do a life change, that they're safe and secure.
So just look on Indeed.com and look for Salvation Army Murfreesboro. I'm sure they'll pop up there. And you are also, in our last couple of minutes here, working around the facility. I'm sure with the facility of the age of the Center of Hope, you got little things you want to work on, and fresh paint and fixing up things. And you did the paint and flooring a few years ago. It looks spectacular. So are there some things that you're working on with that now?
Well, the building was built in 1994, and so even being as somewhat new or old as you look at it, there are things that you still have to upkeep on. So We're really looking at, we're putting in right now our touchless water fountains to be more mindful of preventive COVID, or how whatever virus may pop up is what we have to live with in our world today. But we're looking at adding also touchless, replacing our normal sinks with touchless sinks, and the toilets with touchless toilets. That way we're kind of trying to get up to date with that. We're looking at installing some sneeze guards in our shelter that will kind of accommodate that as well. Looking at some of our cabinets that we have in our shelter, because it just really takes up a lot of room. Looking at having the drawers underneath the bed.
Oh, yeah.
And they're bug bed preventive type deal. It kind of eliminates what they can bring in. But again, the direction that we're going and the vision we have is just, it's not really a permanent place. It's just in that time and moment we come in, we get you going in the right direction and coming alongside of you and having you do things that we feel will help you celebrate your future permanent housing.
So a lot of great things going on. Anything else you want to mention here in our last minute or so?
Just mindful of anytime that they know somebody or needs assistance in thing that they come across in the community, that we're open to respond. If someone doesn't pick up the phone, it's because we're pretty busy, but also just leaving a message and a number so we can call you back and see what we can do and how we can help in any way.
Always very responsive, and at the local Salvation Army here in Murfreesboro. Major, do appreciate you spending some time with us today. And I think by the next time we have the opportunity to talk, there'll be an event. You mentioned Lunch and Learn. They can just call about those two if they want to come by, right?
We're hosting Lunch and Learns. We're doing talking tours. Anytime they want to come by and just kind of know really what we're doing and just see the facility. I know there's a lot of construction going on out front, so that may deter you, but the building is a lot larger than what you see from the outside.
Yeah, certainly is. Major Michael Knott joining us today with the Salvation Army. And a reminder, if you missed part of the conversation, came in a bit late, you want to listen back to the podcast, check that out at WGNSradio.com under podcasts. Then look for Rutherford Issues or wherever you listen to audio, Spotify, Apple Music, Facebook podcast. We're in all those places, so be sure to check it out.
This is Lenny Farmer with Jennings & Ayers Funeral Home. Did you know that you can plan your funeral in advance without actually paying for your funeral in advance? In other words, if it's not a convenient